My name was Abdullah. I was a dedicated Muslim doctor, navigating the fine line between faith and emptiness in the bustling halls of a hospital in Houston, Texas. I wore my white coat with pride, filled with the hopes of my family and the expectations of my community. But beneath that facade was a growing darkness, a nagging hollowness that whispered doubts in the quiet hours of the night. It was here, in this sacred space of life and death, that my heart began to waver. The voices of my prayers echoed against the sterile walls, but their answers felt distant, shrouded in shadows. My faith was a cage adorned with beautiful words, yet inside, I was trapped, questioning everything I'd ever known. Then came that fateful night, a horrific car accident that plunged me into the abyss of unconsciousness. In that dark limbo between life and death, I encountered him. Jesus appeared, radiant and filled with an overwhelming love that shattered the chains of my doubts. He spoke my name, revealing a truth that transcended the teachings I had clung to. In that moment, I realized the spiritual war that was waged not just within me, but across the very fabric of our reality, an urgent battle for understanding, freedom, and grace. As the veil of darkness lifted, I awoke, reborn, yet shattered. I was met with hostility, even wrath, from those I once called family. My revelation was a threat to their beliefs, to the very foundation of a life I had meticulously built. The road ahead was fraught with fear of rejection and the haunting weight of guilt, yet my heart surged with a newfound purpose. I needed to share this truth, a truth I was almost silenced for embracing. So here I stand before you. Join me as I recount the harrowing journey from darkness to light, from the heart of despair to the embracing arms of love. And as we uncover these revelations together, I urge you, leave a comment below. Let me know where you are watching from and what time it is there. Your story matters. And if you love Jesus, subscribe to Truth from Beyond, because what we're about to explore is more than a testimony. It's a pathway to liberation, beckoning for every soul yearning for truth. The atmosphere in the ICU of the Houston hospital was thick with tension. Each day, I navigated the corridors as a physician, surrounded by life and death, hope and despair. The faces of patients blurred together in my memory. Each one told a story of struggle. Each nurse and doctor moved with a solemn determination, their whispered prayers creating an almost sacred space among the beeping machines. In that culturally diverse environment, I was often reminded of the resilience of the human spirit, yet I found myself wrestling quietly with an emptiness that lurked within me, an emptiness that intensified as I confronted life's fragility. One fateful night, as I worked on a particularly difficult case, exhaustion overwhelmed me and I barely noticed the symptoms that had begun to plague me. Suddenly, the world around me spiraled out of focus. I collapsed at the nurse's station, slipping into a near-death state that would forever change my perspective. In that suspended moment, I found myself engulfed in a profound darkness where time had no semblance. But in that darkness, I felt the stirring of a powerful light, a clarity that grew stronger as I was drawn toward it. Then, Jesus appeared before me, magnificent and radiant. His presence filled the void with a love so pure that it pierced through every doubt and fear I had ever harbored. In that moment, he called my name, and it felt as if the very essence of my being resonated with his voice. I saw visions flash before my eyes, an unveiling of hidden truths about the spiritual war taking place not just within my heart, but across the tapestry of humanity. I was shown the deception that clouded our understanding and the hidden agendas wielded by the elite, who thrived on division and conflict to maintain their power. Each revelation ignited an urgency within me, a call to action that I could not ignore. As Jesus shared these profound insights, I understood how deeply interconnected we all are, caught in the web of manipulation that seeks to drive wedges between us. The images of societal struggles, wars waged, lives torn asunder, families divided, strengthened my resolve to seek the truth and to share it. I realized that the spiritual awakening I was experiencing was not merely for my own benefit. It was an invitation to assist others in breaking free from the chains of ignorance. With each revelation, a fire ignited in my heart, a determination to bring light into places shrouded in darkness. Upon awakening in the hospital, the reality of my experience pressed down on me heavily, weaving a complex tapestry of emotion and purpose. I had glimpsed the truth and the urgent need for awakening, yet I was aware of the potential fallout. The medical field I inhabited was often steeped in the mundane. Discussing spiritual matters could lead to skepticism and backlash from my colleagues. Still, I felt compelled to act, to reach out to those wrestling with their own spiritual battles, to invite them into the light that I had witnessed firsthand. I resolved to dedicate my life to sharing this message, even if it cost me the comfort of familiarity. Each day became a new opportunity to embrace this mission, and I sought connections with individuals who shared similar experiences of transformation. I found solace in the stories of others who had traversed similar paths, each of us gathering strength from our revelations. We spoke passionately about the world around us and how the spiritual war continued to wage on multiple fronts. I envisioned gatherings and conversations that would encourage honest discussions about faith, love, and understanding amidst the chaos. Yet the question remained, in a world so filled with skepticism, how could I effectively communicate the profound truths I had encountered without being silenced or dismissed? The road ahead was uncertain, but my heart raced with the promise of awakening, urging me to take that leap into the unknown. Would I have the courage to stand and lead others toward this truth? As a dedicated doctor in a bustling Texas hospital, I poured my heart and soul into my work. I felt a deep sense of responsibility to care for my patients, to offer them hope in their darkest moments. Yet, within the confines of my professional life, a growing emptiness began to fester. Although I was respected for my skills and compassion, I grappled with a profound sense of spiritual dissatisfaction. Despite my commitment to my faith, rigid dogmas and familial obligations felt suffocating. My existence had become one of quiet unrest, and I couldn't help but question the very foundations of what I had been taught to believe. One fateful night, after a particularly exhausting shift, I collapsed from sheer exhaustion and slipped into unconsciousness. I found myself in a realm far removed from the hospital's reality, enveloped in an abyss that felt both terrifying and strangely serene. In that darkness, I experienced something indescribable, and as if drawn by an unseen force, a blinding light emerged before me. In that moment, I understood that this was not just any light. It was the presence of Jesus, radiating warmth, love, and a profound understanding that reached into the depths of my spirit. Jesus called my name, and I felt an overwhelming peace wash over me. This was not merely a vision. It felt like an awakening, with his presence shattering the boundaries of my previous beliefs. He revealed hidden truths to me about the spiritual war that rages on around us and within us. I found myself witnessing reality through a lens that illuminated the deception perpetuated by those in power, the elite who manipulate narratives to foster division and control over our lives. The wisdom shared in that moment forced me to confront the uncomfortable truth of how societal structures warped our understanding of love and unity. The revelation struck me deeply. I saw how the fear and distrust between communities were intentionally stoked to keep us apart, how the elite thrived on conflict and division. I connected the dots between these forces and the wars that rage across the globe, not only on physical battlefields but also within the hearts of individuals. The manipulation of technology and information was laid bare before me, a strategy to maintain control by keeping people wrapped in ignorance. The urgency of Jesus' message pierced through every layer of understanding I had ever known, compelling me to embrace this truth even as the reality of my own life felt uncertain. As I regained consciousness in the hospital, the weight of my encounter lingered on my heart. I understood that my experience was not meant to be locked away in silence. It was a call to action. While the fear of losing my family and community loomed large, the desire to share what I had witnessed and felt was even stronger. I began to contemplate ways to communicate the love and awakening that Jesus had shown me, hoping to awaken others from their spiritual slumber. The struggle within me intensified. I felt torn between my devotion to cultural expectations and the revolutionary truths I had discovered. How could I express this newfound freedom without being shunned or ridiculed? With every decision I faced, I recognized that sharing this truth was vital, not just for my own liberation, but for the liberation of those still trapped in their own spiritual wars. I envisioned gatherings where people could come together to discuss these complex issues openly, a space that could foster understanding rather than fear. But as I prepared to take this leap, I wrestled with the reality that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges. The uncertainty of how my community would react to my truths weighed heavily on my spirit. Yet I felt an undeniable urgency to ignite this movement of awakening, to challenge the hidden agendas that sought to dominate our lives. Would I be able to find the courage to step into the light and lead others toward the truth, even if the darkness threatened to swallow me whole? Late-night shifts at the Texas hospital became a crucible for my faith. Each passing hour filled my soul with a growing void, an unsettling silence I could no longer ignore. I walked the corridors through the dim glow of fluorescent lights, surrounded by the whir of machines and the hushed voices of my colleagues. As a doctor, I was expected to bring healing, yet within myself I felt increasingly disconnected from the very essence of the promises I had made to my patients and to God. My prayers, which once flowed effortlessly, now felt mechanical, stripped of the depth they had once possessed. Doubts festered in the corners of my mind, shadows of unexpressed fears whispering, "What if you've been deceived?" The responsibility I carried weighed heavily. I was aware of the scrutiny I faced, especially as a Muslim doctor, in a predominantly Christian environment. I feared judgment, that my struggles would somehow tarnish the image I had built. I wrestled with unanswered questions about faith and purpose, a struggle that kept me awake many nights. It was during these troubled times that I began to experience unsettling dreams. Each night, vivid images filled my mind, transforming into visions of light and divine figures. In these dreams, I was often confronted by a presence that challenged my understanding of God. There was an undeniable force at work, tugging at me to look beyond my established beliefs. One night, I slipped into a deeper sleep and found myself in an expansive realm of light. It felt serene, yet charged with an energy that pulsed against my skin. Suddenly, there stood Jesus before me, illuminating everything around us. In that moment, I felt known. Every doubt, every fear laid bare before him. As he spoke, the truths he revealed pierced through my confusion. He unveiled the hidden agendas of those who manipulate faith for their own ends, the elite who thrive on division and fear. The spiritual war one had once considered abstract became tangible as I witnessed the barriers these agendas placed between individuals and their truth. Jesus guided me through this revelation, illuminating the interconnectedness of our struggles, the wars that rage not only in distant lands but within our very hearts. I could see how much our society suffers from disconnection, how political and religious systems often perpetuate cycles of confusion and hostility. The divine love he offered was a remedy to these ailments, yet I recognized the urgency of sharing this message. The powerful awakening I experienced felt too significant to keep to myself. It was a truth that needed to be spoken, a call for liberation from the deceptions that had held me captive for so long. As I gradually awoke from this extraordinary encounter, reality flooded back, but I was transformed. The weight of fear momentarily dissipated, replaced by a fierce desire to act. I understood that the world needed to hear this revelation, to awaken from the slumber of ignorance that clouded their minds. Yet, the hesitance crept back in, reminding me of the potential backlash. My community was steeped in traditions that could resist change. How could I share my truth without facing hostility? I wanted to reach out to them, to help them uncover the love and freedom that had been revealed to me. Would they see the light as I had? Or would the fears of their religious upbringing keep them chained in the darkness? The questions flickered in my mind like shadows, urging me toward a path filled with uncertainty, yet bright with promise. After the severe car accident, everything faded to black. I remember the jarring impact and the chaotic noise of crumpling metal, but all of that was quickly drowned in a vast, dark void. I felt as if I had slipped away from the weight of my body, gliding into a different realm where time and space held no meaning. In that darkness, a sense of peace enveloped me, something I hadn't experienced in years. Yet, as comforting as it was, a deeper sense of unease echoed within me, an awareness of something significant, yet unknown awaiting to be revealed. Then, amidst that abyss, a blinding light pierced through the darkness, illuminating everything around me. The warmth it radiated felt welcoming, prompting me to move closer. And there he was, Jesus, standing before me in a magnificent glow. His presence filled me with love and compassion, the kind that transcends understanding. In that moment, I felt recognized, every doubt and fear evaporating in the light of his gaze. Jesus called my name, and as he spoke, I felt the essence of my soul being revealed, as if layers of my being were being peeled away to expose the truth beneath. As we connected, Jesus opened my eyes to the hidden truths of my life. He showed me the struggles I had faced, the conflicts between my adherence to religious traditions and the essence of true love that I had longed for. I saw the deception woven into the fabric of the beliefs I had held so closely, hidden agendas used to control and manipulate emotions and actions. The realization hit hard. Much of what I had practiced was built on structures that encouraged fear rather than faith. I sensed how easily I had been led astray by those who cloaked their intentions in piety, while stifling the love that should unite us all. In that divine encounter, the scope of the spiritual war became clear to me. I witnessed how our divisions were perpetuated by the elite, tearing at the seams of our communities, inciting distrust and conflict. Truths hidden from us reinforced barriers, leading to a world built on ignorance and fear instead of love and understanding. I could see the ripple effects of this manipulation. Wars raging not just in distant lands, but within the hearts of our people, causing strife and separation among families, friends, and colleagues. The realization filled me with urgency. If I could confront these lies, I could help others awaken from their slumber. Yet as the visions faded and I gradually resurfaced into consciousness, the weight of this knowledge settled on me like a heavy cloak. Waking up in the ICU surrounded by the sterile scent of antiseptic and the beeping of monitors, I felt transformed, yet burdened by the urgency of sharing what I had encountered. How could I reconcile these revelations with the life I had been living? How could I approach my colleagues and community who had seen me as a bastion of tradition and share the truth that had shaken the very foundations of my beliefs? The fear of rejection gnawed at me, warning me of the potential fallout from speaking out against long-held customs. Each passing day in the hospital became a struggle as I weighed my desire to share these powerful truths against the fear of alienation. But I understood that the messages I had received were not just meant for me. They were vital for everyone yearning to understand the complexities of love, faith, and unity. As I explored the depth of my experiences, the remembrance of Jesus' teachings filled me with resolve. I pictured gathering those around me, those who felt the weight of their own spiritual struggles, creating a safe space where we could share openly. This new mission, an awakening for myself and others, was daunting. But the vision of love and connection I had witnessed in that divine light gave me hope. Could I find the courage to lead others in this pursuit of truth and liberation, even as the shadows of fear threatened to suppress my voice? Upon awakening from my coma, everything around me felt surreal, yet the revelations I had experienced struck me like a bolt of lightning, shattering the very foundations of my beliefs. As I opened my eyes in the ICU room, the stark whiteness of the walls did little to assuage the storm brewing within me. I felt as though I had been reborn, but with this rebirth came an undeniable burden. The moment I sat up and took a breath, I was hit with the reality that I would face hostility from those I loved. My family and friends would view my encounter with Jesus as heresy, an affront to the very faith that had guided us for generations. Every passing moment felt heavy with tension as I contemplated their reactions. I could almost hear the quiet whispers of disbelief, the concern over my mental state. Within my heart, an internal crisis ignited, a battle between the guilt of potentially shaming my family and the clarity of the truth I had witnessed. I remembered the warmth and love I felt in Jesus' presence, a stark contrast to the chill I sensed coming from those around me. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being pulled in two opposing directions, caught between the desire to live authentically and the pressure to conform to societal expectations that had been imposed upon me. The feeling of isolation grew stronger with each hesitant interaction. Family gatherings that had once been filled with laughter now felt strained and uncertain. I watched my loved ones' faces as they studied me not with understanding, but with suspicion. Their questions hung in the air like a cloud, laden with the weight of my perceived transgressions. The spiritual war within me intensified. Was I truly willing to sacrifice my closest relationships for a truth that could potentially alienate me from my roots? Yet I felt a fierce longing to share what I had learned, to guide others toward their awakening, to break free from the deception that had clouded our shared understanding of faith. In these moments of quiet turmoil, I sought solace in prayer, reaching out to Jesus for guidance on how to move forward. I felt a gentle urging, a reminder that the truth I had uncovered was not meant to be hidden away or silenced by fear. The revelation had given me a purpose, to illuminate the path for others who existed in the shadows of denial. But then the ghost of fear crept back in. Fear of rejection, fear of being branded a heretic, fear of losing my family. How could I articulate this profound awakening to those who might not be ready to hear it? The complexities of human relationships tugged at my heartstrings, forcing me to weigh the burdens of loyalty against the light of truth. Yet, as my thoughts spiraled, the memories of my experience in that divine realm surged back to the forefront of my mind. Jesus had shown me the interconnectedness of our struggles, how the deception of the elite breeds division and conflict. I remembered witnessing the insight of how politics is infused with manipulation designed to keep us separate from one another, fostering societal discord that often has devastating consequences. I knew that my experience was part of a larger call for awakening, not just for me, but for anyone enslaved by these hidden agendas. What if my testimony could become the catalyst for others to recognize the spiritual war being waged within their own hearts and minds? In the depths of my soul, I resolved to act. I envisioned gatherings where open discussions could take place, where hearts and minds could come together to explore the truth of our shared existence. My heart burned with the desire to share my story, to acknowledge the deception that had long perpetuated fear and misunderstanding. But would they listen? Could I spark a fire in them, encouraging them to embark on their own journeys of awakening? As I stood at the precipice of this new reality, I felt both exhilaration and fear merge into an unyielding determination. This was my moment to step forward into the light, to fight not only for my own truth but for the collective awakening of my community. Would I find the strength to carry this message through the fear and doubt? In the stillness of my late nights, I embarked on a secret quest for truth that changed the very fabric of my existence. As a dedicated doctor, I had spent countless hours in the unforgiving environment of the ICU, yet my personal life felt increasingly hollow. The weight of expectation from my family and community pressed heavily on me, forcing me to conform to beliefs that no longer resonated with my heart. After my near-death experience, a profound emptiness awakened my spirit. Late at night, when the shadows danced around me, I found solace in studying the Bible, each verse revealing layers of meaning that sparked a flicker of hope within me. My journey into the scriptures was clandestine, an exploration that felt both exhilarating and frightening. I often found myself questioning everything I had been taught, grappling with the growing realization that much of what I followed was shrouded in deception. The revelation of Jesus transformed my understanding of God and the spiritual war raging within and around us. I couldn't help but connect the dots between my awakening and the broader societal issues I had seen in practice. The war between understanding and ignorance, love and fear, unity and division. I felt compelled to delve deeper, to seek out testimonies of transformation from those who had also experienced profound changes in their lives. Eventually, I sought the companionship of a small Christian community that embraced my journey. They welcomed me with open arms, offering friendship despite the fear of being discovered. In their presence, I felt an ocean of love, a warmth that had been absent for so long. With them, I could share the fears that haunted my dreams filled with unsettling images and divine figures challenging my understanding of faith. The camaraderie within this group nurtured my spirit, even as I wrestled with disloyalty to my culture and those I loved. I realized I was no longer alone, and they recognized the urgency of sharing love and truth in a world where hidden agendas often overshadowed the divine. As I continued to immerse myself in this community, the tension within me grew sharper. I was confronted with the societal pressures that sought to keep individuals divided. I recalled the revelations Jesus shared during my near-death experience, truths that pierced the veil of ignorance and illuminated the bright pathways toward awakening. The deception surrounding us was so pervasive, and I could see how the elite manipulated beliefs to perpetuate chaos. I began to feel a strong sense of responsibility, aware that I could play a crucial role in exposing these truths and guiding those still caught in the cycle of fear and misunderstanding. With each new conversation, I became more determined to share my experience and advocate for a collective awakening. The ramifications of a changed heart extended beyond individual healing. They had the potential to transform communities. I envisioned gatherings filled with people, souls hungry for understanding, eager to embrace the truths I had uncovered. But along with the hope I felt came the fear of confrontation. Would my friends and family turn their backs on me for embracing a path that threatened their traditions? Could I truly shine a light on the hidden agendas and deceptions we faced, without losing everything I had ever known? As the emotional waves swirled within me, I knew I had to prepare for publicly sharing my journey. The spiritual war was not just a personal struggle. It was a fight for souls yearning for liberation. I felt the swelling urgency within me to speak out against the constraints that had kept so many bound, knowing that the love and truth I had encountered must reach those still trapped in darkness. With Jesus as my guide, I resolved to transcend my fears, to be the voice of awakening that could challenge the status quo, even as I braced for the consequences of taking such a bold step. Would my words resonate and spark the fire of awakening, or would they fall on deaf ears, lost in the noise of societal expectations? Realizing that my experience served a greater purpose filled me with both urgency and trepidation. After that life-changing incident, where I found myself face-to-face with Jesus during my near-death experience, I emerged from the darkness yearning to share the freedom and love I had discovered. As I opened my eyes in the ICU, the reality of my life weighed heavily on me. The love I felt in his presence had filled the void I had learned to live with, but now that same love called me to action. I understood that my journey was not just for myself. It was meant to illuminate the paths of others trapped in the same spiritual war one had fought silently for so long. Yet with this revelation came the looming threat of persecution. Fear gnawed at me as I thought of how my community would react. Could I truly speak my truth without facing backlash from those I had always respected? I wrestled with feelings of guilt and anxiety, torn between the desire to share the transformative love I had experienced and the fear of losing everything I had built: a supportive family, a respected career. The thought of being ostracized for embracing an awakening that challenged the status quo filled me with dread, but I couldn't shake the conviction that the truth must be spoken, regardless of the personal cost. With each passing day, I felt increasingly compelled to share Jesus' message. I began to explore the scriptures more deeply, revealing truths that I had only scratched the surface of before. I met with small groups and individuals who had also experienced spiritual awakenings, each one echoing similar sentiments about the hidden agendas that kept us trapped. We discussed the pervasive deception woven into the fabric of society, the way the elite manipulated perceptions to perpetuate fear and division. Those conversations ignited a fire in my heart, a collective yearning to rise above the chaos and reclaim our shared humanity. Yet, the road was fraught with tension. I knew I had to tread lightly as I began to share my journey with those around me. My medical colleagues were skilled professionals, but the fear of being branded a heretic weighed on me. The possibilities loomed large. Would they cast me aside, or could I find allies in my quest for truth? I kept picturing my family, their faces and expressions, as I navigated the delicate balance of maintaining my relationships while openly living my truth. The spiritual war was not just internal. It extended to every interaction I had, and I could feel the stakes rising. As I poured my heart into this mission, I found strength in the unwavering belief that the revelation of Jesus was meant to spur awakening not just in me, but in everyone hungry for truth. I envisioned gatherings where individuals could come together to explore their beliefs openly, where fear could be transformed into understanding and love. With each step I took toward sharing my journey, the anticipation of both acceptance and rejection mingled within me. Would I have the strength to stand firm in the face of adversity? Would my testimony resonate deeply enough to break through the barriers of doubt? The urgency of the situation pressed against me, urging me to act, to spread the message of hope and transformation, even as uncertainty surrounded my every move. In a powerful symbolic act, I made the decision to leave my old identity behind. The day I packed my belongings, I felt as if I were shedding layers of skin that had accumulated over years spent conforming to expectations and traditions that no longer resonated with my soul. I wasn't just relocating to a new city. I was embracing an opportunity to openly express my faith in Jesus and share the truths I had discovered. The shift was monumental. It felt as though I were stepping into a new life, one where I could dedicate myself to evangelism and community service, while still honoring the roots that had shaped me. The decision was not without its challenges. I grappled with the fear of alienating my family and friends back home, the people who had known me as a committed Muslim doctor. Would they understand this evolution? Would they see my newfound path as a betrayal? The thought tightened my chest like an iron vice, but deep down, I felt an exhilarating sense of freedom. My near-death experience had ignited a fire within me, a declaration of sorts to awaken not just my journey, but also to invite others to explore the depths of their spiritual existence. I was determined to stand against the cultural and religious expectations that had long kept me imprisoned. Once settled in my new environment, I immersed myself in the local community. I volunteered at shelters, organized health camps, and participated in interfaith dialogues. Each interaction reminded me of the spiritual war we are all involved in, fighting for truth in a world riddled with deception. I engaged with people from various backgrounds, each carrying their own stories of struggle, awakening, and introspection. The connections I forged nurtured a sense of belonging, reinforcing the idea that the revelation I had experienced was meant to be shared, not hidden in fear. I spoke of Jesus, his teachings, and the love that transcends all barriers, flooding my spirit with hope and purpose. As I began to openly express my faith, I also encountered resistance. The elite influencers, those with deep-seated agendas, seemed to rally against any message that threatened their control over society. I witnessed how some communities clung tighter to their rigid beliefs in response to the awakening I championed. The tension increased, manifesting in conversations laced with skepticism and anger when I brought up the truths revealed to me. Nevertheless, I held firm to my convictions. The love I had been shown by Jesus encouraged me to continue fighting against the manipulation that sought to drown out our voices. Each day was an opportunity for growth and reflection, both for myself and those around me. I organized small groups where individuals could come together to explore spirituality without the fear of judgment, a space to openly discuss the spiritual war we all face. We tackled the broader implications of hidden agendas, the technology used to spread misinformation, the political conflicts inciting division, and the wars that rage on both in distant lands and within ourselves. As these stories surfaced, the urgency of our mission became increasingly evident. We needed to illuminate the truth and awaken those still ensnared in manipulation and fear. In these gatherings, the spirit of hope and love grew stronger with every shared revelation. I looked into the eyes of those who felt the spark of awakening, and I knew I was on the right path, but amidst the progress, I still found myself grappling with the emotional weight of separation from my family. My heart ached with the desire to reach out, to share what I had learned, yet the fear of their rejection loomed over me. Would they ever understand the depths of my transformation, or would I always remain an outcast in their eyes? As these thoughts swirled in my mind, the realization settled in. This awakening was not merely my journey. It was a call to every soul yearning for the truth. Would I have the strength to embrace it fully, or would the chains of fear pull me back into the shadows? Years have passed since I awoke in that Texas ICU, and my life has transformed in ways I could never have anticipated. The events of that near-death experience became a catalyst for an awakening I had been longing for. I found myself grappling with a newfound calling, a drive to influence lives and share the revelations I received from Jesus. The journey from doctor to pastor and missionary has been fraught with challenges, yet each step along the path has been filled with purpose and conviction. I can't help but reflect on how that single moment of clarity, a meeting with Jesus in the depths of darkness, has rippled through my life, igniting a fire that inspires countless others to seek their own truth. In my newfound role, I have traveled to many places, speaking to those caught in their own spiritual wars. I share my story, hoping to provide hope to those who feel lost or burdened by the weight of expectation. The urban landscapes and quiet towns I visit are often filled with people who are yearning for more, grappling with their fears of inadequacy and disillusionment. Hearing their struggles brings back memories of my own deep-seated doubts. The hidden agendas perpetuated by the elites seem to cast long shadows over our shared existence, breeding division and fear among people who, if united, could shift the dynamics of power that keep them oppressed. In these conversations, I emphasize the urgency of awakening. I recount my encounter with Jesus, where the layers of deception stripped away to reveal the essential truths of love and unity. I've witnessed how a single revelation can change someone's perception of themselves and their relationship with the world around them. I often remind people that the spiritual war we face is real, not just in some distant realm, but in the very fabric of our day-to-day lives. I encourage them to stand against that deceit, to search for the truth that can liberate them from the cycles of division. It's heartening to see sparks of understanding light up their faces. They begin to grasp that their fears can be transformed into strength. Despite the joy of sharing these insights, there remains a significant void in my heart, my estranged family and community. I think of the relationships disrupted by my awakening, a painful reality that I grapple with daily. My hope for reconciliation feels like a distant dream, yet it fuels my resolve. I long for them to understand that my journey toward truth doesn't come at their expense. Instead, it broadens the horizons of love and compassion we could share together. I often contemplate how I might reach them, how to convey the messages of awakening and transformation within the confines of their rigid beliefs, without inciting hostility. As I move forward, each day becomes a new opportunity to build bridges, to craft dialogues that can transcend cultural and religious divides. The road is not without its bumps. The fear of rejection still shadows me whenever I speak about my faith. Yet I feel transformed by each interaction, invigorated by the idea that my voice might help others find their own. I wish to inspire those around me to embrace the truths that lie within their hearts. The manipulation and deception we face are daunting, but together we can challenge these forces. How many lives can we touch by simply sharing our stories? How much love and understanding can we foster by acknowledging and confronting the fears that divide us? The urgency of my mission keeps me awake at night, fueling my contemplation and determination. I look at the world and see a place desperately yearning for connection and understanding. The battles we fight within our souls mirror the spiritual war being waged around us. Every conversation I have is a step toward healing, and in that I find my calling. Yet, as I prepare to take the next bold leap, I must confront the lingering question: how can I bridge the divide between my past and the future I envision? My heart beats with anticipation as I seek the strength to continue on this path, knowing that the journey toward awakening, for myself and others, is only just beginning. The journey of my life as a doctor had always been about healing others, a calling I embraced with pride and dedication. Yet there came a time when I couldn't heal my own spirit. I often found myself grappling with an emptiness that crept in slowly but steadily, beginning to overshadow my commitment to my patients and my faith. I had dutifully performed my responsibilities in the ICU and felt the weight of life and death in every decision I made. But in the quiet moments of reflection, when the world was still, I felt the deep-seated discomfort that questioned the very foundation of my existence. It all culminated in a severe car accident that changed everything. One moment I was driving, lost in my thoughts, and the next I was engulfed in darkness. When I regained consciousness, I found myself in a surreal, weightless realm, navigating through a void that felt both terrifying and serene. It was there, in that liminal space, that I encountered Jesus. He appeared as a radiant figure, enveloped in an aura of indescribable love. In that moment, it felt as if the entire universe was watching, and I stood before the embodiment of truth. His love penetrated my being, filling the emptiness I had felt for so long. As Jesus and I connected, layers of deception were peeled back like the skin of an onion. I saw visions of how the spiritual war unfolded not just within me, but among people everywhere. I felt the gravity of the hidden agendas orchestrated by the elite, who seemed intent on dividing communities and inciting fear. I witnessed the political manipulations at play, the way societal norms often kept individuals in chains, too afraid to seek their own truths. The urgency of these revelations pushed against my heart, igniting a desire to awaken others to these harsh realities. I knew this was not just my battle. It was a collective struggle, demanding attention and action. In that profound moment, Jesus revealed how true liberation could only be found in love and truth, not in dogma or rituals that stifled the spirit. This understanding became the basis of my awakening. I realized that while I had been respected for my skills, the emotional void I'd experienced stemmed from adhering to beliefs that had become shackles rather than sanctuaries. The sleeves of religious obligation had restricted my heart, and the love I yearned for was overshadowed by fear of judgment. Jesus encouraged me to embrace the liberating love that his life and teachings represented. Upon awakening from that life-altering vision, I felt compelled to share the message I had received. My spirit was aflame with purpose, But an undeniable fear gripped me, a fear of how my community would react. Would they listen, or would they dismiss my experiences as delusions? The thought of jeopardizing my relationships and reputation loomed large. Each day in my practice became an exercise in tension between staying true to my newfound convictions and adhering to the roles expected of me in my professional and personal life. I began to reach out to others who might share or understand similar experiences, cultivating a network of support that helped reassure me I wasn't alone in pursuing this awakening. I felt an urgent call to address the societal issues I witnessed in the world around me. The further I delved into my faith and the teachings of Jesus, the more I understood the oppression faced by so many. I envisioned gatherings where we could collectively explore these truths, recognizing that we were all caught in an intricate web of manipulation and fear. My heart raced at the prospect of leading discussions that could help others confront the hidden agendas that perpetuate division. But the question loomed: how could I share this transformative truth with those still shackled by their fears? The path ahead felt daunting, yet with each interaction, the burning desire to speak out against deception and injustice grew stronger within me. Would I have the strength to confront my fears and in doing so invite others into the light of awakening? Now that you've walked with me through my journey, I need to ask you something. Have you ever stood on the edge of your own understanding, feeling the pull of truth just beyond your grasp? I know what it's like to feel that heavy weight of fear, the uncertainty of how your revelations might disrupt the very fabric of your loved ones' beliefs. I felt the warmth of Jesus, love enveloping me as he shattered my doubts, beckoning me to step into an awakening that could change everything. Not just for me, but for everyone seeking the truth buried beneath layers of deception. As I share this message, I realize we are in the midst of a profound spiritual war, one that seeks to keep us in fear, in doubt, and divided. But each of us has the power to choose love, to rise against the manipulation that aims to silence us. I invite you to share your own experiences in the comments below. Have you faced a moment that dared you to question everything? Your voice matters, and I'm here to listen. If this message resonates with you, don't miss out on the journey ahead. Subscribe to Truth from Beyond and hit the notification bell. Each week, we will uncover more of the urgent truths that can awaken hearts and ignite the transformation we so desperately need in this world. It's vital that we walk this path together. Your subscription is a step toward understanding. In our next video, we'll delve into the testimony of another remarkable soul, someone whose encounter with the divine left an indelible mark on their spirit, forever altering their path. This is just the beginning of a greater revelation unfolding, and I can't wait for you to be a part of it. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. I'm Abdullah, and remember, every step taken in truth brings us closer to love and understanding. Together, let's illuminate the darkness and awaken those still caught in the shadows.